Welcome to our overview presentation of Evolve FM, facility management software that anyone can use. When we talk about facilities management in an Evolve FM context, we're talking about a set of tools to keep track of people, employees, occupants, and vendors, places, basically properties, buildings, floors, and spaces, and finally things, assets, infrastructure, furnishings, and finishes. Bringing order from chaos by making your facility's information available to whoever needs it, wherever they are. That's what's possible with Evolve FM. Here are some of the organizations using Evolve FM. And here's where they are. All the different actions available to you are presented as menu selections on the Evolve FM homepage, on any device, wherever you are. Evolve FM effectively manages space, assets, operations, moves, and documents in an organized and scalable data structure. The core functionality of Evolve FM includes space management, asset management, and the Evolve FM platform. Plan Room, operations management, and move management are modules you can add if you need this functionality. Facility drawings, while increasingly being created with BIM tools like Revit, are also being maintained in both AutoCAD and AutoCAD Architecture. All these design applications, as well as others like Graphisoft and Bentley, can produce a DWF file containing all the information needed to support floor plan visualization in Evolve FM. Evolve FM creates an intelligent, lightweight HTML5 file from your DWF that is linked to your data and delivered in your browser. Building design applications are of necessity sophisticated and powerful. They aren't built for the casual user. Information management tools like Evolve FM, while quite sophisticated and powerful under the hood, are easy and intuitive to use to meet a facility manager's requirements. In facilities, change is constant. It isn't long before what the drawings represent and what is actually in the building become very different. Facility staff need an easy way to mark up digital versions of the drawings with changes and get those markups to the people who maintain the drawings so they can be updated. Once updated, the models can be turned into DWFs and re-imported into Evolve FM, ensuring that the system of record and the CAFM database are always in sync. Evolve FM can be installed behind your firewall in your own IT infrastructure or be hosted in the cloud. The SaaS model has many advantages, including reduced IT infrastructure and support requirements, little to no capital investment, a pay-as-you-go usage model, and it's easy to shut down should your requirements or circumstances change. Everything on this list really contributes to Evolve FM's main goal, to be a powerful, affordable, versatile, and easy-to-use CAFM system that can be hosted in the cloud or installed on your desktop. Either way, it's built to work the way you work. So let's go into Evolve FN and look at a few things. So when I log in, I'm presented with a functional menu which gives me all my options, and this menu will show choices depending on your login credentials so that you have the ability to control what menu items and also what items within a particular screen a user can see. In this case, I'm in drawings, and I'm going to close that up to give us a bit more screen real estate so you can see that over here I have my navigation tree on my left hand side, and this is where I can navigate through my facilities hierarchy from property to building to floor. And you can see the highlighted bar here which tells me I'm looking at the space plan for the second floor of the building at 160 Canal Street. And I can come over here into this drawing, and you'll notice as I hover over particular spaces, they change color. And if I click on one, information about that space comes up. So as I click through here, I can see information about a particular space in terms of the room number, the square footage, what the classification of the space is, what the occupation is, and whether somebody lives there or not. If I click on a space where a person lives, you'll also see the name. In this case, I can see that Brett lives here. So that gives me a little bit of information about that space. In Evolve, if we want more detail, we can simply click on the Open Record button over here, And now I'm looking at the space record for this particular space, and I'm seeing all the detail. Now the information is organized by tabs so that information of like quality is grouped. And so the attributes information that I'm seeing here is pretty much the same information that we saw on the bar over here. I have more details here about conditions and compliances and services that might be coming into the space, information like that. The FICM tab is primarily for higher education. I can have as many pictures as I want that relate to the space. So if I'm trying to document the space in terms of what it looks like or what's in it or what workstations are in it, I have the ability to store pictures. If I have an administrative contact for the space, I can have that in a tab. If I want to see information about the occupant, I can click on the Occupants tab. And right from this particular tab, in addition to seeing who lives here and when they moved in, I have the ability to click on that person and I can move him out. I can add somebody to the space. I have full ability to manage the occupancy of the space in terms of moving people in and out, that sort of thing. The Assets tab is the same thing. So here I can see what assets are assigned to the space. I can add assets, I can remove assets, I can do the same kind of thing. Allocation simply tells me what department and how this space is allocated in my facilities hierarchy. In this case, it belongs to accounting 100%. If there are any documents associated with the space, they would show up here. So if I had something special about regulations or other information that was particularly important, I could have Word documents or pictures or PDFs or whatever I needed to there. And finally, I have a work order history, so any work orders associated with the space would show up in the work order tab. In this case, I don't have any work orders, but that's a quick tour of the space form. And pretty much as we go through all the forms and evolve, you'll see that the asset form looks a great deal like the space form. They all have some consistent look to them, so it's pretty easy to navigate around and see the information you want. Up here on the bar, we have some things we can do. I can move people in and out, and I'll show you that in a minute. I can search for drawings and people and assets and things like that. I have the ability here to do things like turn labels on, so that if I come over here and I say turn labels on, what will happen is information that's in the database will show here. As I roll my mouse in here and I click the pan button, I can drag around, and I've got a label here that shows me the space number and the occupant or occupants. So and their titles, whatever information I have that I want to show. I design my label to be what I want it to be. I have control over where it shows up in the space. The default is obviously the center of the space, but if I have a reason or I have an odd shaped space and I want to move it around, I can do that. You can change the size. All those sorts of things are doable. And when you do something to a label, reposition it or change its size, etc., the program remembers that. So the next time you come into the drawing and you open the spaces up, those labels will appear in the spaces you have adjusted them to. So if I want to, I can turn, sometimes you want labels on, sometimes you want labels off, so it's easy enough to turn them off. I can click here, I can right click and zoom out or zoom all if I want to get back to a full picture of my drawing. Since we get our drawings primarily from either AutoCAD or Revit, we have the ability to look at layers. So if you think about what we're looking at here, we're looking at a very lightweight read-only version of our CAD drawing. So while we can't really edit it here at the moment anyway, we can indeed look at it in other ways pretty much like a CAD drawing. So I can turn layers on and off if I want to see what they look like. So if I can click a layer there, and you can see it changes the look of things by turning that off. If I want to turn the furniture label off, I can do that, and I can get a cleaner look. So depending on what I'm doing, I can change these layers and turn them on and off to get the look at the floor plan that I want. And I have the ability also to more or less remember that layer setup and deal with it the way I need to. So that's a little bit about what you can do with layers in Evolve, and you can pretty much view the drawing any way you need to get the information you need. Some of the things we can do here are I'm going to turn that furniture layer back on again so that we have our original look back. Theming, let's take a look at theming here. So in Evolve, it's very easy to pick information that you want to theme on, and like if I want to see a layout of my departments on this particular floor, all I need to do is click on departments and I can see it themed up the way all the spaces are assigned. I have the ability also to turn on both counts and areas, so that if I want to see that business management has 79 spaces totaling 6,130 square feet, there it is. And so this gives me the ability to put a very informative legend on my drawing, and anytime I want to, I can print this out as a PDF if I have some reason to hard copy it and want to hand it out that way. And we can also run reports that do that same kind of thing, and also document all the spaces underneath the drawing if you wanted to see that list. I won't do that here, just understand that that kind of thing is available to you. Other things we can do, and let me pick a different theme here for a moment, and I'll go over here to, I want something called available seats. So here now I can see basically all the seats in gray are at their head count, and all the ones in green are below their head count, so they're places I can put people if I need to. So for this piece, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on moves, and I'm going to click on occupants. I can do either occupants or assets, so I'll pick occupants. And I can either search for an occupant, or I can just scroll down the list of available occupants. In this case, I see someone here, Gilbert, who doesn't have any spaces assigned to him, so he's essentially homeless. And if I wanted to assign him to one of these available spaces, to do that, all I need to do is click on his name. And you notice down here I get a dialog box that asks me where I want to put him. I can click on an available space. If I have the select button on, of course, I can click on an available space. And I'll get a dialog box that asks me if I want to move him into the space, or whether I wanted to move him in and out of everything else he's in. Or in this case, I'll just cancel, since I want to keep my demonstration database the way it is. But that's all you need to do to move someone. And just to go back and look at that again, I'm going to click on him again and kind of do that same transaction. And I'll click on that same space again and get that same dialog. Another thing you can do here that's really kind of nice, you notice it plugs in a move-in date of today, because this is the day I'm actually putting this video together. But if I know that I don't want to move him in until a week from Friday, I can just come over to the calendar button, click on the 20th, and say, yeah, I want to move him on the 20th. And if I click move into the space, it will put that move into a holding pattern, and it won't move him in until the 20th comes up. So I don't have to come back on the 20th and actually move him. He will just automatically appear in that space on that date. So it's another little convenience feature we've built into that move component. So next, I'm going to clear my theme. I'm going to come back to my attributes pane, and I am going to come over here to the search tab, and we have the ability within Evolve to search for drawings, for spaces, for occupants, or for assets. So if I click on occupants here, and it'll ask me matching, and I can just type in a string of characters. And once I've clicked the fourth character, what will happen is all the names that have that string of characters in their name will show up here. And if I wanted to find, for example, John Vance, I click on him, I say search, and he shows up here with a little bit of information. And now I can either open his database record, or I can click on his name here and open the drawing where he lives. And you notice what happens here. If he's not on the drawing I was on, it goes and finds the floor plan that he's on and then lights up the space that he's in. So it's a very efficient way to find people within your organization. And if I want to see his database record also, I can click here and I can see information about his attributes, and his contact information, any spaces he's in, and any assets that are assigned to him. So I have a pretty complete record of information about the occupant. Another nice feature of Revolve is the fact that even though we primarily work with floor plans, we aren't restricted to floor plans. So if I have an interest in having, for instance, a campus map, I can have a campus map and I can click on buildings within that map and see what they are, and I can click on parking lots and identify them as parking lots. Those kinds of things are available to me as information, so that if I want to deal with information like work orders or anything else on a campus-wide basis, I have a pretty nice tool for doing that here. And the other thing I probably should show you, because people think this feature is pretty much cool, is I'm going to go back to my space plan here, and let's say that this conference room, I saw something wrong with it, or I generally use the restroom. That's even better. So I see a problem with this restroom and I want to report it. All I need to do is click on the restroom, click here, and I can create a service request on the fly. And you will notice that Evolve is smart enough to fill in all the space information here. So all I need to do as a reporter of a problem, I can fill in as much or as little of this information as I want to, depending on what I know and what I do. But the only important piece of information that you need to put in to make this thing happen is, I can say something like flood in restroom, is type that information in, make sure that field is filled out, and then when I say save, that request can be saved, and whoever's running work order administration, the maintenance person, can click on that, open it up, assign it. If it's an emergency, we have ways to automatically route emergency work requests directly to the people that need to do them, so that you can bypass the normal process by which a work request is first approved and then converted to a work order and then assigned. You can make those processes automatic for certain classes of work requests, so that you can make it work kind of the way you want it to work in your organization. We have a lot of flexibility here. So by now you're familiar with the left-hand navigation panel for finding the floor plan you want, the center area where you see the actual plan that you've requested here, and clicking here shows attributes on the right, and you can do different things with those. We also have something called the bottom panel, which I can turn on by clicking that button right there. And let me right click inside the drawing area and do a zoom all so that you can see the whole drawing. Now, keeping to our theme of being a system for tracking spaces, people, and assets, on these three icons here, you'll see I have a list of spaces down here. Now, this list of spaces is pre-filtered to the floor that I'm looking at. So everything that's on this list, on this grid, is relating to this particular floor. So if I come down here and I click on a space here, you can see that the space lights up here. So there's a linkage between the grid, the data grid that I'm working with, that I can scroll through, and the space that I'm looking at on the drawing all the time. Or if I'm doing people and I want to know what people are on a floor, here's a list of all the people on this floor. If I click on Mary Jane's name, bingo, I can see where she lives. And if I'm looking for assets, I can click on the assets button. And if I want to know where that air handler is, I can see that air handler is somewhere in this space right here, because that's how we classify assets and put them in places. And we haven't looked at the asset record yet, but this is probably a good place to do that. So I will double click on that asset record. I will open it up, and we can see that we have an air handler, and we can see the property, building, floor, and space it's in. If it's categorized, I can see what its category is, that kind of thing. I have the ability to look at details about model numbers and serial numbers and vendors and warranties and replacement information, etc., life cycles. So we have a lot of data again, comments, pictures, allocations, and again, the ubiquitous work order. So if I need to create a work order on the fly for this thing, I can come over here, click on work orders, and create a work request or a work order for that asset right from here. And I can also see a work order history in this case. Since this is an air handler, there's a lot of PMs. We have a PM schedule in this demo database, so it's created a lot of PMs uh, that need to be done that haven't been done, but you get the idea. So we won't go into the details of the work order system today. That's a whole presentation on its own. Today we're just giving you a general overview of the things that are involved. So you get the idea that the grid lets you look at people, spaces, and assets in quite a number of ways. And when I don't want that grid, I can simply hide it. Now all these window areas are closable and openable with these arrows, and they work a little bit differently depending on the device that you're on. So when you open Evolve, if you open it on a tablet, the screen is optimized for the tablet. If you open it on a phone, it's optimized for the phone. So the behaviors of the screens and the way data gets presented are dependent on the device that you're looking at it on. But in all cases, we're maximizing the use of the device screen real estate to give you the ability to look at the information in the most efficient possible way. Another feature worth showing here is plan views. And so these are really nothing more than drawings, saved layer states from drawings, so that if you want people to have one-click access to maybe an emergency egress route out of the place they're in, you can click on an egress route plan. If you wanted to see parking lots, you could click on the parking lots plan, and you can have as many plan views as you want. And this just gives your audience a way to one click to maybe see drawing information the way they need to see it for a particular purpose. And you can create as many of these as you want, and it's really nothing more than turning the layers on and off in the drawing to get them the way you want to see it, and then simply creating a new plan view and putting a name on it based upon the view you've created of that particular drawing. In the brief time we have remaining, I just want to go over a couple of other menu areas within Evolve. So we've been spending all our time here in the drawing area because that's really where most people work every day. But in truth, there are all kinds of reasons to be in some of these other menu choices. I'm going to go to space, and I've already opened it to save a little time here. So we go to the space grid, we have properties, buildings, floors, spaces, and occupants, and we can look at all these things in real time. And these are all grid views. So these kind of look a lot like spreadsheets, only they're a little bit cooler than spreadsheets in terms of how they present data and how you can filter data to look at it the way you want to. In this case, I am going to come over here to filters, and I am going to change this search to building, and I am going to look for 160 Canal, and there it is. And maybe I want to get to my floor, so I'm going to go to my floor, and I want to say second, and there it is. And now if I say apply, now I will only be looking at spaces here for the second floor. And what's nice here is these grids are really handy in terms of what I can show, what I can't show. So I can turn on the columns that I want to see. So whatever data I want to see about a space, I can turn on these check marks or turn them off depending on the fields that I want to see. And I can also drag the columns the way I want to see them. So if I happen to want space class to be in front of space category, I can do that kind of thing. And what's really kind of neat here is once I've set up a view of the grid that respects the way that I want to see the information, I have the ability to manage the view by either creating a new name, so I could call it my new view, And if I wanted to, I could make it the default view, and so that every time that I open the space grid in the space module, I would see this whole thing displayed the way that I wanted to see it. And I can have as many different views as I want in this list. So if I come over here, I can see that I have a new view, a simple space, a test. So there are lots of different ways to show data in grids, and grids are just an easy way for you to organize information, search for information, filter information, and when you need to simply quickly export information that's in your grid out to Excel, maybe to do other things with it. Now, we could spend quite a bit of time on grids. I just want to give you a taste for how, in a pure data mode, you can manage different kinds of information in the Evolve database. So what I've done here, just to speed up the time of presentation, is we're now in reporting. I've gone to reports. I picked a legend with data report. Now I could run this on the whole portfolio. In this case, I said I just want to run it on the second floor of the Canal Street building. So I can make my filter as tidy or loose as I want. I can pick the category, theme, and the type of space label I want. I can tell it I want areas and counts, that kind of thing. Lots of different reports that you can do here easily, and lots of different filters you can put on them. Lots of different ways to output them, PDF, Excel, etc. I'm only really scratching the surface here to give you a sense that reporting is an important part of Evolve, and we've given you lots of different ways to look at your information and get at it very easily. And what the report looks like. In this case, I asked for a PDF, and so let me stretch this out, and I will pop it up. So now you can see that in this drawing, in this report, this is a cost center report, and with my legend, with the square footage, with the space counts, etc. And then as I scroll down through it, I have the list of spaces that go with each floor, or in this case, there's only one floor. So, but if I had a second floor, it would also show up. So I can create reports that are flexible and easy to look at and can reflect whatever information I want them to in terms of getting what I need. Uh, there are lots of tools in here, and as we build out our new set of videos to reflect all the new features we put into Evolve, we'll spend time and do short videos in each function in the reporting menu, and in fact, in all the components of the application. But for today, this is as much as I'm going to show you. It should give you enough of a sense of what Evolve can do for you to determine whether it looks interesting to you and whether it can possibly fill your needs. So thank you very much for taking the time to look at Evolve FM today.